No. Short answer, no. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and follow me on twitch.tv. Serious tier list. By the way, we can start with the old metagame, with the SB07 metagame, where we had Cell at the top of the tier list. This was my previous one. And then I had Boo just below Cell. And then we had Piccolo, Omega, Butengs, and Bulma as a Dark Horses. I think that these are the only playable decks in SB07. And going forward, I think that the gap between Boo and Piccolo Omega is not that big. I would say that they're all S tier. And Butengs, I don't see a reason to play this anymore. I feel like that this Kid Boo is far stronger overall. So I would drop it out of the tier list. I don't think anyone is playing this anymore. So bye-bye Butengs. But they're basically the same deck, so. I still think that Cell is the best tier. This is the best deck overall. And as we saw in the recent tournament in Japan, where every single team had a Cell, but not every single team had Boo, Omega, or Piccolo. Which one is the strongest between these three? I would say Boo, Omega are very close, and then Piccolo is the third option. I would say Piccolo is the weakest out of the S tier. But still, yeah, I would say like this, maybe. And going forward, in SB02, I would say this is still true. No deck dropped a single tier. Cell is still very, very strong. Super strong. Is still the best deck in the game. Kid Buu is very, very strong. Omega as well, and Piccolo as well. So let's see how new decks fit in this tier list. Bulma is still B tier, I think. With the new additions, actually, it might even be A tier. For anybody that doesn't know what this means, S tier are the tournament winners. So decks that I feel like always top, they should usually win tournaments. And we've seen this reflected this whole past meta, where every tournament has been won by Cell, Boo, Omega, or Piccolo. So like this is clear. S tier is like that. Cell tier is just above S, but it still fits in the S tier description. A tier, on the other hand, are decks that can top, and sometimes they will also win tournaments. Like, are decks that can consistently top, and then maybe they can win a tournament or two. But overall, they're strong decks, strong pick to take into a tournament. If you're proficient with those, if you put your time, I don't know if Bulma like is that strong. It has seen some results last few regionals. Overall, it's very cool. It got one new card that is very strong, the 3-cost Bulma, that lets you cheat your 5-cost Goku earlier than usual, so you can play it either on curve or to close the game. So that's pretty strong, I would say. But I don't know if it jumps from B tier to A tier. Can it consistently get a top cut spot? I wouldn't say so. I still think that it is B tier. I would say so, guys. What do you think? I don't think... even with the new addition, I still think it's at the top of B tier. But I wouldn't say it's A tier. Does it consistently top cut? Can it win tournaments? I'm not sure about that. Not entirely sure about that. So at the moment, I will leave it at the top of B tier. About the old leaders, everybody that doesn't fit in the tier list is completely unplayable, guys. I can make an unplayable tier list, actually, for decks that you want my opinion, and I don't think they're playable. Most of the unplayable decks are not gonna fit in the tier list, but like new decks, or decks that got new cards, and they improve their rankings, but still don't fit in the tier list, I would put those in the unplayable tier list. But you can consider every deck here that is not rated as unplayable. Even playable decks that are strictly worse versions of other decks that are already on the tier list. For example, Butengs is very strong. I would say it's a strong deck, but since it's a worse version than Kid Buu, I'm not gonna rate it. That is why it's not in tier list. Like, this is bad, not playable. It will get some support in the future, maybe. Not playable. Yeah, no. New red deck is Toranxo. What can I say about Trunks, guys? I've tested it a lot, and I think it fits perfectly in the unplayable tier. This deck has so many problems. I don't even know where to start. So many problems. The evil mechanic is shitty. The problem with the evil mechanic overall is there are cards that you're supposed to play with evil, and they're not playable without evil. While what I've loved to see are cards that are okay-ish being played for the full cost, and then very strong when you pay the evil. So, I don't know, I feel like my idea of evil cards as an alternative way to cheat out strong cards doesn't align with the Bandai vision of using evil as the main line of play of those cards, and you can't do anything else. Because if you're playing a red deck, there's no way you even reach 8 energy to play your 8 cost Gohan, right? And there's also no way that you pay 4 energy to play a 20k vanilla. So all the evil cards are not playable outside of evil. And to play your evil, you need to set up so many things. You need to see your field, you need to play your 1 drop to set up your 2 drops under the field, and then you need to see both your middle one, that is the 4 drop usually, and then your top end, that is the 6 drop or the 8 drop. So you need to see so many cards. You need to do extra steps in order to play cards that are not even stronger than comparable cards. And you're using way too many resources to do so. So another downside of playing Trunks is that your hand size shrinks like crazy. Like, by the time you flip, you reach the end game with a hand size that's like 8, 9 cards in hand. Something like that. So, like, that's not good in the current environment where Dex has 15, 16 cards in hand and they're all 10Ks, and the hand size matters a lot in this game. So low hand size, evil cards that are unplayable without using your evil chain, and also effects that are questionable. I don't know if I even activated the leader effect twice in a game. If you don't see your field, it's completely doomed. So yeah, unfortunately Trunks doesn't make it. It's unplayable. It's gonna get some new supports in the SB08. Maybe that's gonna help. But at the moment, even by design, it is not playable. If they made better cards, sure. Can't you just put a 4 drop under a time chamber directed and evolve very early into your SR? You can't. Because you can only put under chamber your lookout that are only 2 drops. Yeah, that is the problem. I'm not a card designer, but what would I've done instead was making sure that the field starts on play at the start of the game. Like maybe on the front side, the deck is like, at the start of the game, play 1 0 cost field from your deck. That's number 1. Number 2 is give a proper effect to the field and then put the field effect in the ruling. So in the ruling, you should say you can evolve, you can use evolve base cards under fields on the battlefield, on the battle area. That should be in the rulebook. And then give a proper effect to the field, like this leader effect. Maybe the field is, I don't know, tap this, protect from KO once per turn one of your evil cards. And then give the leader a proper effect to gain some resources back, because you can't use 3 cards to play a big body and then your level is 7 in hand. So maybe the leader should be, I don't know, if you evolve twice per turn, draw 1, or even more, I don't know, something like that. So yeah, unfortunately, it lacks a lot, both in effects and the power level of his cards. The top end is not even that strong. Like, I go extra miles to play fucking Ramshi. Ramshi level of power. What about green leaders? Still unplayable. Giblet God, maybe it can get 1 top here and there. It is still a dark horse sometimes, but the problem with Giblet is that I don't think it beats any of the top decks. The problem with Giblet is I think it has a losing matchup into everybody. It loses to Cell, it loses to Boo, it loses to Omega, it loses to Piccolo. So you're basically playing an uphill battle against every single meta deck. I wouldn't say it's a strong deck. Can you win games? Yeah, sure. Maybe if they low roll, maybe you eye roll. You can steal some games. But if your opponents know what to do into your deck, then yeah, it's like B tier, Bulma tier, I would say. We can keep it there if we want. Let's keep it there for fun. Because I always have some cope decks that I keep in the B tier, but it is definitely not playable. Android, all drum decks, aggro decks, not playable. I'm gonna talk about Nameku after. Broly BR, same problem. Like, it can be Dark Horse, but it's not super strong. I would say it's unplayable. Okay, what about new Nameku cards? I didn't try the old Nameku a lot. Actually, I didn't try it at all. I only tried the new one, because I think that it's strictly better. I think all the new supports are very strong. I mean, I think it is better overall, because it flips faster, so you can't be starved as much as the other one. It swings harder, because it swings twice per turn for bigger numbers. And it has a better all-in, because it can take life to play your secret, even if you're at 3 life, even if you start at 4 life. While this later can't, you need to play Muri, stuff like that to set up your SCR, then you're gonna lose energy. So overall, like, I feel this is better. I would say the old Nameku is still not good. I'm not gonna rate it. I'm gonna only rate this one because I think that it is strictly a little bit better. What about Nameku? This deck is cool. I would say maybe B tier. Maybe B tier. The problem with Nameku is that, yes, it swings super hard, but swinging hard doesn't win you games into Cell. Because the problem also is, like, it has a couple of problems. So problem number 1 is you swing super hard, but you need to defend your second to last life. When you're left with 2 life, you have to defend that. Because if you don't, and you start your turn on 1 life, you cannot double swing with your leader. And your all-in becomes a lot worse. You're a glass cannon, basically. You swing super hard, but you're fragile. And you need to defend a lot. You're a fast deck for sure. You can awaken pretty fast, win on T4, win on T5. Yes, that's cool. That can work into some decks. It can work into Piccolo. I don't know, it might work into Omega. I don't know about Boo, but definitely it doesn't work into Cell, and Cell being the best deck in the game, it doesn't help at all, the Nameku. Because I tried it, I had high hopes for this Nameku. It is very cool. I like it. I like this Nameku stuff. I like swinging hard, I like fast deck, I like aggro decks, but I think that to play a proper aggro deck, we need to wait for FBO8. I think the new FBO8 gone is a lot more promising than this Nameku. Because, like, you basically trade your life cards for offensive capabilities. And trading life cards playing into a deck that swings for 4D is not a great idea. I'ma tell you, it's not the best idea, guys. Maybe I awaken, I swing twice, I go down to 3 life. And then your opponent starts swinging at you with fucking 30, 40, you drop down to 2 life, then you have to defend your second to last life. And then you start dropping super combos from your hand. You have to all-in next turn. But the opponent didn't block a single swing. So now he has 16 cards in hand. Like, guys, I don't know, 200k all-in into Cell. He can block 220k. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much big is your all-in on T5. It doesn't matter when the opponent is that deck. So I don't know if there's any other way to play aside from glass cannon, but I think that if you try and play the long game, it's even worse. So I don't think it makes it, and it also has a lot of problems removing threats from on board. The only way you have to remove stuff from board is by swinging into those. That is like a sort of removal. Yes, it works, but it's not the same as removing stuff on board and swinging big at the same time, like the top decks do. This deck can remove and swing face. This deck can freeze and swing face, or control the board, or starve. Same thing as everything else. This deck does only one thing, but that doesn't win you games into decks that are overall more complete. So yeah, I mean, it's quite unfortunate because the deck is very fun to play, but I don't think it has what it takes to defeat the top decks in the game. So I'm gonna keep it to B tier. Blue leaders. I don't think any of the new addition is super relevant to make them playable in the new metagame, because they didn't gain anything significant enough to make them jump into the tier list. Okay, what about Gotenks? I think that this is overall the strongest of the new SB02 decks. I feel like it is the strongest. It's definitely better than Trunks. I mean, Trunks is a meme. It's definitely better than Nameku. I don't know if it's stronger than Bulma, but yeah, it is there. But still, even this deck, no guys, I don't think it is A tier. So what is the main problem of Gotenks? The main problem is that his extra cards are extra shitty. And playing a deck that is based around extra cards, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. It got 3 playable extras, I would say. The bottom deck one, the plus 25k for the turn, something like that, and the bottom deck, all 3 or less, but discard 1 from your hand. And everything is not really what you need for a deck to cast every turn, if not for the bottom deck one. Because, take for example Omega. When you're playing this deck, every single turn, if you don't have anything to answer, you're just gonna play the draw 2 cards. That's your go-to, especially in the early game, or whenever you don't have a better play. So I feel that Gotenks should have a similar card that you can play every single turn and is always gonna be good. Even more so than Omega, because you cannot miss your extra cast, because then your leader doesn't work, your Gotenks don't work, and all of your deck falls apart if you don't cast 1 extra each turn. And if there's no viable one, then it fucking sucks. So take for example, I'm facing Omega. I cannot bottom deck their 5 drops. What am I gonna play? The bottom deck 3 or less? What am I even bottom decking? There's a 5 cost on board. Plus 25k? It is laughable. That card is just there for the all-in. If the opponent is at 6 life, what am I even plus 25k for? So I don't even have like a good card that I can play every single turn. If I'm playing against other decks, sure, the bottom deck one is okay-ish, but I still need to see once each turn, and that's not guaranteed. So when I first tried the deck, what I thought was the 2-cost Trunks Goten, the one that on play retrieves a Gotenks. I thought that card on play retrieved an extra card, and that would have been that would have been cool. I thought that this on play, it retrieved an extras, but it actually adds up 1 Gotenks. So, and this is so much worse. For instance, we don't have any 10k Gotenks, so we cannot get any value by retrieving a Gotenks. Second of all, that means that you need to keep in your hand your extras, because you cannot get those back. You will say that you can do that with the skinny tanks. So, like, this card can retrieve the extras, right? But you need to pay 1 extra energy. And your curve is so fucking strict. You cannot afford to use even 1 extra energy. You can't. Because when you're at 5 energy, you need to play Gotenks and the extra. When you're at 6 energy, you have to play your Goku that brings out Goten Trunks. You combine them, you play your Gotenks, and then you have 1 energy for the extra card. When you're at 7 energy, that is the first instance where you have 1 spare energy, and you can use that to play your skinny Gotenks if you want, or your 4-cost Gohan. So you have another 30k on board. But 7 energy is the first single instance where I can fit in a skinny Gotenks. That's not great, guys. That is not great. I am dead by 7 energy. The game is completely over. So that's not a solution. But while if this retrieved extras, that would have been different. Because what happens now is that when I'm playing Gotenks, my late game hand is gonna look like 4-cost Goku, a bunch of extras, maybe the Gohan if I'm playing the Gohan. And then what happens is, as I have, I don't know, 8-9 cards in hand, and half of those are zeros or 5k. So even if the opponent swing for 30 or whatever, I can't even block those swings. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die to an average all-in. I'm not gonna die to a 200k all-in. I'm gonna die to a fucking 100k all-in. And that is the reality of playing Gotenks. One way you can play the deck, and I think the optimal way, is to try and stall the game like you used to do back in the days. But you don't have pilafs, so you can stall a lot in the early game. You don't have access to pilaf, so pilaf is banned. And even if you can manage to stall, at some point the opponent is gonna push you and kill you. As soon as Cell reaches the Cell chain, they're gonna push you with Cell Juniors and you're fucking dead. They're gonna swing 15 non-stop, and how can you even block those 15? You have to take, you awaken, you take 30, 40, whatever. You have a few cards in hand because you use them to block in the early game, and then you can block big swings because your hand is full of zeros, and then you just die. So yeah, that's a big problem. So you know, like Cell at the start of the game has some zeros in hand, and at the end of the game is all 10ks. Gotenks is the opposite. At the start of the game, you're full of 10ks, and as the game progresses, you have less and less combo party in your hand. And at the end, you have like a couple of supers, all zeros, a couple of 5ks, and maybe 1 or 2 10ks. Because you need to keep your key cards in your hand. You need to keep your Gokus, else your turns are ridiculous. You need to keep your extras, because you need to play 1 extra each turn. You need to keep your Gohan, maybe. You have to keep maybe some Gotenks, I don't know, just to have a couple of options. Do I want to go for these Gotenks? Do I want to go for the other Gotenks? So you also have to keep maybe a 5k or another 0 in your hand. Yeah, it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. I think we need like one other playable extra to make it A tier. At the moment, I don't feel it's A tier, sadly. In SB08, this will change, yeah, but we're making an SB02 tier list, so I don't even know. Like, guys, why do you think they release half-ass decks, like incomplete decks, on purpose? I think like they create an archetype, they make, I don't know, 30 cards for an archetype, and then when they have to ship the expansion, they roll a dice randomly. Then they decide, okay, these 10 cards, we're gonna move them to the next expansion. So we make sure that this deck is not playable on release, and then we make sure that at the new expansion, it is still not playable because the power level got higher by having 1 extra expansion. So this is not playable anymore. It's like it's not playable anyways. And they do that all the times. Do you remember when Gogeta, 6-cost Gogeta, released 1 set late? Holy shit, if Gogeta released on time, Black would have been playable that expansion. But they decided to release 1 expansion later than it was supposed to be. And they do that all the time. They release half of the cards now and half of the cards the next expansion. And the next expansion is now playable anyways, even if it's now complete. Yeah, even Goma. Holy shit. The core cards, next expansion. Because why not? And by the time they release, Goma is not playable. If Goma released with all of the cards, it would have a spot in the metagame. An incomplete Goma is not playable, and by the time it's complete, it is still not playable, because now the power level rolls. So what the fuck? Yellow decks? The Emperor! Holy... What the fuck? What did they even do with this leader? Why did they even reprint it? What the fuck is that? Like, straight to the unplayable tier. I think this might... I don't know. Maybe it's better than Trunks, actually. That's funny. It might even be better than Trunks, but... I don't know. Like... Guys... I don't even know what they... Like, what the fuck was that? Do you know why they did reprint Frieza? Because it is in the manga. And they just wanted to release the manga art. And that's it. But the support is laughable. This support is actually a Ginyu support. So the funny thing is this support is a Ginyu support. I would say Ginyu is definitely better than Frieza. And it might be a B tier deck. It has like... It says a good matchup into Omega. And it can also win into other decks. I don't think it wins into Cell. It might still win into Boo, maybe. It can top sometimes. It's a B tier deck. If Piccolo sees everything he needs to see and becomes a 25k leader every turn, there's no way he dies to Ginyu, but you can try and sneak a win into that as well. So it is B tier for sure. But Frieza, hell no. Guys, the new support is so bad. Do I even need to talk about it? I don't think I have. Let's move on. I am mad that they didn't use the excuse for a Frieza reprint to make playable cards for Golden Frieza. They could have. They could have, definitely. I know they cannot reprint Golden Frieza because it is not in the manga. But at the same time, you can reprint this for fun to have an excuse and then actually make Golden Frieza support. They could have definitely done that, but they didn't. So, unlucky Golden Frieza. Moving on to black decks. Black is still unplayable because this guy exists, guys. Ultimate Gatekeeper for every single black deck in the metagame. So, I cannot play any of the black decks. So, the new black decks, they got some support, but they're not a single one can even be B tier. Except for Bulma, because with Bulma sometimes you can win. Maybe they don't see self-destruction, maybe they don't know how to play into Bulma, so Bulma sometimes can win. Every single other black deck has no chance at all. No chance. So King Piccolo... Okay, to make King Piccolo playable, I always talk about this. They need to remake the egg. If they remake the egg, it can be better. If they remake the egg, so it doesn't proc at the end of your turn, maybe it's an activated main, maybe, I don't know, it has 5k combo power, maybe, I don't know, it draws one when you pop it. I don't know, it needs to be something better. The current egg is not playable at all, and the new supports are not enough to make it even. It can't even rise to B tier. It can't. So it is just unplayable. And Sharon, I would say is the best unplayable leader. At the end of the day, no one of these decks can win into Cell. But this decks has a chance to win into other decks. What about Sharon? Bro, you can't even win into Piccolo. And I don't think you win into Boo. Sometimes you can win into Boo. I would say sometimes you can win. If you eye roll, maybe, and you bring out a fast Gogeta, and you're really lucky. But I wouldn't say, guys, I wouldn't say it's B tier. Come on. Let's keep it real. It is the best unplayable decks, but it's still unplayable. Cause like we all know the reason. We all know the reason. Cell exists, guys. Yeah, the problem with Sharon is that it's a black leader. That is the main problem. The new supports are cool. Don't get me wrong. New supports are cool. The Tao Pai Pai and the General are both cool cards. I like it. It's fun. You need some proper sequencing to pilot it properly. You have some eye roll conditions that can make it a little bit stronger. But at the end of the day, it's not on par with top decks. So yeah, I would say it is still unplayable. Wait, is Trunks worse than Demon King? Is Trunks worse than everything? Maybe, yes. I don't know. It's so bad, guys. I don't know. Maybe Frieza is maybe Frieza is better than King Piccolo and then Trunks. For fun. So yes, I think this is it. And the fun thing, we can say it is fun, but it's actually depressing. Funny, not fun. The funny thing is, I don't think there are any A tier decks. Every single top consists of these 4 decks. And sometimes we can have one spot in the top cut occupied by 1B tier decks. Sometimes they can sneak their way into the top cut. But I don't see any deck that consistently top, but doesn't consistently win the tournaments. Maybe Piccolo is the only A tier decks. We can downgrade Piccolo 1 tier if you want. If you want, we can make it like this. Because out of the top 4 decks, I think Piccolo is slightly worse than the others. This is the least likely to win tournaments. Because it has the worst matchup into Cell. Just because it has the worst matchup into Cell. That's it. That is the reason, guys. That is the reason. Because out of these 3 decks, Piccolo has the worst matchup into Cell. Omega has a good enough matchup into Cell, even maybe slightly favorable. Boo has a 50-50 matchup into Cell, or slightly unfavorable. Sometimes it depends on dice roll also. I would say 50-50. And Piccolo, if it loses the dice roll, it can't win into Cell. If it wins the dice roll, it needs to see everything, and it is still a 50-50, I would say. So just because of that, we might put this in A tier. But this is better as a signal to say, guys, we have a clear problem with the metagame. We have 4 playable decks, and then nothing else. So I would say this is a stronger message. Let me know what you think about the current tier list in the comments below. And remember to leave a like, subscribe, and follow me on twitch.tv/icelumkr. And I'm gonna see you next time.